Has anyone ever accused you of being a crybaby? Or have you ever been told not to take everything so personal? Maybe you've been asked, why are you so sensitive? As though it were a bad thing or taboo. You could be one of the mislabeled highly sensitive people. I would like to encourage my audience to have more understanding of HSPs or highly sensitive people, and HSPs to understand that they are not alone, nor are they abnormal. It's a newly discovered personality trait and not all that uncommon. I personally deal with this trait. I would like to give you some basic facts and 3 key attributes belonging to HSPs, followed by strategies and how to handle them. I asked the audience what it meant to be a sensitive person. The answers weren't far from the truth. One said sensitive people take everything to heart. Another that they are easily upset, cry easily, are empathetic, and another stated that it meant being mindful of others' feelings, not just your own. In fact, the trait is normal, not a flaw. It's even innate. Scientists have found the trait in many animal species. It can even be inheritable. 15 to 20% of the population are highly sensitive, which means that 1 in 5 people are going to be highly sensitive. And it's not a new discovery per se, rather it's been misunderstood and mislabeled. Those with the trait have been deemed shy or introverted because we tend to look at situations much more carefully before we jump in. The reality is that 30% of HSPs are indeed extroverts. We have less serotonin in the brain, which is a chemical used by 17 parts of the brain to move information around. She explains why we take in so much and take a little bit longer to process it. Stress also reduces the level of serotonin and can cause depression. It also allows for better retention of learned material. And there are many medications available to correct this. The HSP is and can be a creative, productive worker, also an attentive and thoughtful partner. Famous psychologist Carl Jung himself called it a tendency to turn inward and labeled himself an HSP. Now, I would like to explain the first attributes of HSPs. According to Elaine Aron and her book and website, The Highly Sensitive Person, the first attribute is depth of processing, meaning that an HSP has good intuition. We make decisions much more slowly, but we go over all the options, weighing them. We also notice many subtleties that are usually missed. When you walk into a room, you see furniture and maybe people. What the HSP sees, if they've been there before, they will notice changes to the room, but they will also notice moods and feelings of the people in the room. They are called deep feelers that are detail-oriented. They work extremely well at weighing pros and cons of an issue as long as the final decision isn't up to the HSP, according to Huffington Post's article, 16 Habits of Highly Sensitive People by Amanda L. Chan. The second aspect relevant to HSPs is overstimulation. We are naturally overwhelmed if something is too complicated, if there are too many things to remember or too many things to look at. If something is noisy or too loud or too cluttered, and that annoying sound that annoys you is extremely irritating to an HSP. Strong smells also. If something goes on too long, an HSP will wear out sooner from having to process so much. They are easily stressed by overstimulation, which can cause feelings of hopelessness and worthlessness, which are unnecessary. An additional and probably the most important attribute is emotional reactivity. HSPs are high in empathy. Elaine Aron explains this with mirror neurons. When we watch someone do something or feel something, this bunch of neurons fire in much of the same way as the person we're looking at. And that helps us to gauge the intentions of others and how they feel. As others' feelings are extremely important to the HSP, and we actually feel the same feelings without really knowing how, and that helps us to anticipate others' reactions. Huffington Post agrees with this and says the HSPs have more empathy and concern for a friend's problems. I would also add a stranger's problems as well. Also, HSPs are more upset deeply if they make a wrong decision, and criticisms are taken much more personally, and that sarcastic comment may not be taken in the way it was intended. Now that we understand more about the trait, let's look at ways of handling it. Top 10 Survival Tips for the Highly Sensitive Person by Dr. Susan Bialy from psychologytoday.com. She says, get enough sleep. Allow yourself much needed rest during the day to combat overstimulation. Take a nap. Wear noise-reducing headphones. Plan in decompression time. Eat healthy and limit caffeine. HSPs are more susceptible to the effects of caffeine. Have a quiet place in your house to which you can retreat when necessary. Get things done in the off hours. I personally recommend this one. Go shopping in the evening when there's less crowds. Surround yourself with beauty and nature. Minimize clutter and chaos. Avoid violent movies or television shows. When I asked the audience whether they had been or known anyone to have been called oversensitive, the majority seemed to know of people with the trait, and one openly included himself as an HSP, which I found rather refreshing. A bit more patience and understanding is necessary on the part of those with and without the trait. It is normal for an HSP to feel deeply, to feel overwhelmed, and to be emotionally overreactive. It is cause for celebration. It is unique and special. A point to remember, according to Elaine Aron, every HSP is different and different at different times.